Hello there guys, welcome to part 2 of my rug spar build series. In this part I'm going to be building the framework and the floor for cleaning the rugs in. So this will be a timber frame construction, primarily built from 2x4 treated timber, treated for rot. So it shouldn't rot, but I'm going to make every attempt possible to make it as water resistant and watertight, so it lasts for a long time. Now I've got my big table saw out, ready for cutting these really long lengths of timber. I've got 4.2 meter lengths in the end. There's my really cool tool storage unit if you haven't seen that already. Now it is going to be 4 meters by 3.7 meters. And these timbers were really quite long, so I just needed to cut a couple of these down using the handsaw, because I just didn't really have the space. It was a bit too end heavy for me to be able to cut this on the table saw. But then I can get to the things much quicker using this table saw. I'm using 300 millimeter centers for the joists, and I think there was 10 of these going in. So it's a bit overkill, but I want to do this once and do it right. Don't want to have to come back and redo things. Now I had to show you this really cool vacuum cleaner that I bought. I really wish I'd bought this sooner, but it's like a little portable vacuum cleaner which you can also mount.
Read instructions before using this appliance.
Yeah, well, I won't be doing that. I'll leave a link to this in the description box below, but you can mount this to the wall in your workshop or wherever you might be using it. It's really handy. You can store literally everything inside this little unit. It's got a little bag underneath there where you can store the vacuum hose.
Okay, so that is the whole kit, all attached to the wall there, nice and neat and out of the way. It's got storage space for absolutely everything in there. It's really handy. Even has this little remote that you can start and stop it wirelessly.
So when you're working on a machine, say for instance, and you have this attached to the machine, like I'm doing here, you can literally press this little button and it will start up. So you don't have to keep going backwards and forwards. Now it would have helped if I hadn't have broken the sort of suction attachment on my saw years ago. It would have collected the sawdust a lot better. But yeah, you can see it's got a really long hose. Perfect for, you know, in, like I said, in your workshop, sucking up all the dust and stuff like that. It's wet and dry vacuum, so any water spillages or anything as well, it will suck it up, and look at that, you know. That's all you need, really. Now, I spent about there's about 250 pounds worth of screws that have gone into this, all stainless steel. Because the mistake I had before was I built the frame from screws that weren't stainless steels, which meant when I came to take it apart, all the screws had just rusted and they just broke. So it's all going to be completely built from stainless steel screws, all pre-drilled. before putting them in, because otherwise they just get stuck. I'd hate to think how many actual screws I ended up putting into this frame, but yeah, it was a lot. Now I'm screwing these joists from the inside rather than the outside, because I want to be able to take this apart in the future, and if I've got all the screws on the other side, then it's going to obviously make it difficult to take it apart. So yeah, I just thought I'd try and make things a little bit easier for myself and screw those on the inside of the frame. Now this is where I'm going to raise it up and get the angle that I want. I'm not 100% sure what that angle is, but it's probably around 5 degrees, which should just be enough of a slope for the water to drain off down to the bottom end of the wash pit.
Now, in order to fit the frame to the wall, I'm going to use these really handy masonry bolts, or concrete bolts, or masonry screws, whatever you want to call it. But it's just a big thick screw that you can screw directly into concrete, brick, masonry of all types. You don't need any plugs or anything. You just drill a hole straight through to the required depth and width, and then that just screws straight in. They're really great.
Now you're probably wondering, what are all these little bits of wood for? And in hindsight, I probably would have just done one long strip down each side rather than cut all these individual pieces of wood, but I'm building a frame within the frame because my flooring I want to sit on top of the frame and not sandwiched in between the walls of the timber frame and the base of the timber frame, if you see what I mean. So when I need to replace the plywood flooring, which I will be installing in a bit, I can just unscrew the plywood flooring and lift it up rather than having to take all the sides apart as well. So that's why I'm building this inner frame to hold the plywood flooring, and the outer frame is going to be for stacking the walls on top when I raise the height of the wall. Like I said, in hindsight, I wish I'd done this, just built a frame within a frame essentially, and then just done the joists, but this was kind of afterthought. But never mind. Now I'm just wedging up the side which is not fixed against the wall so I can get my level. And once I've got things as level as possible, I am going to be cutting and fitting a lot of these little feet to this side of the frame. Now this is going to hold the level that I want. So these have to be cut at all different lengths as you go all the way to the end. And yeah, this is just going to support the frame. Now I'm just fitting this one side in at the moment, but you'll see later on just how many of these little feet that I put in to hold everything up. job is I will be taping the top of each and every single joist and noggin and foot in order to prevent the water, if any water does get in through the floor and lands on top of these joists, it should just run off the top of this sort of damp proof course essentially and then drip onto the floor. This should increase the lifespan of the joists and prevent them from rotting. Like I said before, I want to do this once and right the first time so I never have to do it again. Okay, at this point I am now cutting the bits of timber for the sides for the wall. I'm going to go up 2 levels of 2x4 using big 150mm stainless steel screws to screw this down into the frame, and this is going to wrap around the outside. And like I said, this is the first level, and then I'll do another level. This is just to contain as much of the water inside the wash pit as possible. Okay, and now for the flooring. So I'm using 18mm marine plywood. Now you have to use a special plywood, not just any old wood, if you're going to build a floor that's going to get wet. This is special wood that's been impregnated with a waterproof glue. Now this just protects the wood from water. Doesn't mean that you can just put water straight in there. You still need to protect the wood after, but it just helps the wood prevent water getting inside, and if it gets inside plywood it then starts splitting the leaves of the wood apart, which is not good. So yeah, if you're going to build a floor out of plywood, make sure you use marine ply. And again, I've pre-drilled and pilot holed the holes in the floor, and I'm using 40mm stainless steel screws to screw this down. Okay guys, that's the finished floor. Now I just need to water seal it, put water sealing strips in, tank it, and yeah, then put the pool liner on and it's ready to rock and roll. See you in part 3.